Stephanie stepped into Pamela's pristine kitchen, the tin recipe box clutched against her chest like armor.
Still holding on to that old clutter? Honestly, darling, you are too sentimental.
My mother's recipes aren't clutter. They're the only inheritance I ever needed.
On the marble counter, she opened the tin. Faded cards in her mother's handwriting filled the small space.
I still don't see why you brought those. Carolyn's menu is perfectly planned.
These dishes are my mother's legacy. They belong at a family reunion.
Pamela's lips pressed thin. She turned back to the sink, but the air had chilled.
Sentimentality doesn't season a roast. Stephanie, I just want the best for everyone.
She knows exactly why these cards matter. She just doesn't care.
Stephanie set the box gently beside the fruit bowl. She didn't trust Pamela to leave it alone. An hour later, while Stephanie checked the dining room, Pamela attacked the kitchen with a disinfecting cloth. In the glossy reflection of the oven door, the tin box slid silently into a black trash bag.
Stephanie returned. The counter was bare. Cold spread from her chest to her fingertips. Where is it? The recipe box. I left it right here, Pamela.
That old tin? I must have cleared it with the scraps. Pure accident, I am afraid.
That was no accident. You knew exactly what those cards meant to me.
No need to raise your voice, dear. It was just some paper cards.
Her mother's words, her fingerprints, the faint smell of vanilla, all rotting in a landfill now.
Stephanie stood frozen, the kitchen tilting around her. As if the floor had crumbled, Pamela scrubbed at an invisible spot, her back turned. The dismissal was absolute. The doorbell chimed, and Stephanie pinned on a smile that felt like borrowed skin.
Hey, you look pale. Did something happen in the kitchen?
Just tired. It's a long day. Don't worry about me.
Pamela swept through the room in a cloud of perfume and forced laughter, her hostess mask flawless. Stephanie slipped into the pantry and locked the door. Her composure shattered into silent, heaving sobs.
Steph, I saw you slip away. Open up, tell me what's wrong.
It's nothing you can fix, Mark. Something I lost today. Something that can't be replaced.
He pressed his forehead against the door, helpless. She straightened her blouse and wiped her eyes. In the kitchen, Carolyn, the caterer, worked with quiet precision, her smile easy, her hands steady. The party hummed on. But Stephanie's laughter never reached her eyes. Stephanie slipped through the French doors onto the darkened porch. The cool air, a shock after the stuffy living room. She pressed her hands against the railing, trying to steady the trembling she'd fought all evening.
I am sorry to intrude, but you left in a hurry. Are you all right?
Not really. Pamela threw away my mother's recipe box. It's just gone.
Your mother's recipes?
Stephanie nodded, and Carolyn's face went suddenly, carefully blank, like someone holding back a secret.
I know it sounds small to anyone else, but that box was my inheritance. My mother's handwriting.
It doesn't sound small at all. Those cards, they carry a person's presence.
Carolyn's voice thickened, and she looked away into the dusk, as if seeing something far off.
I might be able to help you. Let me think. I'll come find you before the night is over.
Carolyn led Stephanie through a side door into the quiet, shadowed hallway that ran behind the kitchen.
Years ago, your mother and I were in the same cooking circle. She personally taught me every one of those recipes.
She opened her catering binder, tabs labeled with dish names, each page an exact transcription.
The same looping, G's, the flour smudges. It was like hearing her voice again.
When Pamela hired me, she was very clear. No family recipes, but I kept these anyway.
Stephanie's eyes widened. The accident suddenly had a signature.
She threw out the originals, but you saved them. You saved my mother.
I am just the keeper. Your mother wanted these to find you, I think.
Stephanie drew a shaky breath, hope flickering raw and terrifying in her chest.
I can make you clean copies tonight. After dinner, you won't leave empty-handed.
Stephanie strode back into the kitchen, the binder's truth burning a hole in her chest.
You told Carolyn not to use a single family recipe. You planned this from the start.
That woman is lying. I simply wanted a professional, unified menu for today.
Mark appeared in the doorway, drawn by the sharp edges in their voices. He looked from his wife to his mother.
She has a binder filled with my mother's recipes, taught to her years ago. The box wasn't an accident.
A convenient story. She's just a caterer trying to undermine me.
Wait. You told Carolyn to exclude Mom's recipes. Why would you do that?
Pamela's mouth opened, but no sound came. The faintest crack appeared in her porcelain composure.
He's finally seeing her the way I've always seen her.
Mark stepped closer to Stephanie, his voice low. I need to understand this. All of it. Carolyn heard the rising voices from the hallway and stepped into the kitchen, her binder cradled against her chest.
I think it's time I set some things straight about those recipes, Pamela.
You work for me, not her. One more word, and you can leave right now.
These pages aren't yours to erase. They belong to a woman who trusted me with her legacy.
A murmur rippled from the dining room. Through the pass-through window, guests exchanged uneasy glances.
This is a private matter. Please, everyone, just ignore this nonsense.
I am catering tonight's meal using those recipes. Every dish will honor her memory.
Stephanie watched, heart hammering, as the caterer faced down her mother-in-law with unshakable calm.
You can fire me, but these recipes will be served tonight, one way or another.
The room tilted dangerously close to chaos. The scent of simmering garlic suddenly sharp against the tension. Mark stepped between the women, his posture a wall his mother would not breach.
If you send Carolyn away, Mom, Stephanie and I leave right now. This is not negotiable.
You can't be serious. This is my house, my reunion. You wouldn't embarrass me like this.
The dining room had gone silent. Even the clink of glasses had stopped.
These are her mother's recipes. They deserve to be on this table, and I'll stand beside my wife.
Pamela's face crumpled, then hardened. She gave a tight, painful nod. Without another word, she turned and walked out, her heels sharp against the tile. Carolyn returned to the stove, the clatter of pots resuming like a heartbeat.
He did it. He chose us.
The worst was over, but the evening held its breath, waiting to see what would be served. Stephanie pulled a bowl toward her, the ceramic cool under her palms.
Your mother always said her stew was about time, not tricks. She'd stir for hours.
Time. That was her magic. She waited for flavors to bloom, for me to come home.
Carolyn laughed softly, and a cloud of flour puffed between them, like a shared secret.
In our circle, she was the one who knew how to fix a sauce with a whisper of nutmeg.
The scent of rosemary and browned butter unspooled into the dining room.
I thought I'd never smell that combination again. It's like she's standing beside me.
A tear dropped into the batter, and she didn't wipe it away.
She told me once, my daughter will cook when she needs me. Just wait.
They fell into a rhythm, grief and flour weaving into something that could feed a room. The guests settled around the long table as serving platters arrived steaming from the kitchen.
I am so glad you are all here. Tonight, our caterer has prepared a special surprise menu, something extraordinary.
She didn't mention whose recipes they were. The omission was deliberate, a final, petty erasure.
Carolyn, near the doorway, caught Stephanie's eye and whispered, "You should be the one to say it."
My mother's food, stolen again. If I stay silent now, I lose her twice.
Her hand trembled around the stem of her wine glass. Mark, sensing her tension, placed his palm over her free hand.
Whatever you need to do, I am right here.
Let's raise a glass to family, to tradition, and to a wonderful meal ahead.
Guests murmured assent, lifting glasses. Pamela's smile was sharp, triumphant. Stephanie's heart hammered. She had one breath to decide: swallow the lie, or stand and claim what was hers. Stephanie pushed back her chair, the scrape cutting through the gentle murmur of the room.
Before we eat, I need to tell you the truth about the menu. These dishes aren't just a surprise. They're my mother's recipes.
Aunt Lydia set down her fork. Uncle Rob's brow furrowed. The table hung on her next word.
Pamela threw my box of handwritten cards in the trash this morning. But Carolyn, the caterer, had learned every one from my mother years ago.
Pamela's glass froze midair. Her smile became a porcelain mask with nothing behind it.
So tonight, we honor her. The stew, the roast, the nutmeg in the sauce, it's all her. She's still here.
A sob escaped from Cousin Marie. Others touched their eyes with napkins. The silence had weight.
This box was my only inheritance. Pamela called it clutter, but you can't throw away love.
Stephanie lifted her glass higher, and her voice found a strength she didn't know she had.
Please, eat, taste her. And raise a glass to my mother, Margaret.
The dining room erupted in a swell of voices, forks clinking. As family turned to each other with long-buried stories, Aunt Lydia, voice thick with memory, said, "She made that stew for my wedding. I'd know the smell anywhere." Cousin Marie pulled up photos on her phone, eyes glistening, and passed it around the table. Pamela slipped from her chair, her heels silent this time. Her face was ashen as she disappeared into the hallway. Mark saw the empty seat. His jaw tightened, and he followed his mother into the corridor.
We need to talk. What you did today, it goes beyond anything I can excuse.
Pamela didn't turn around. Her shoulders were rigid, but her voice came out thin.
I just wanted things done properly. She's always so dramatic.
You threw out her mother's only legacy. If that's proper, I don't want any part of it.
He returned to the living room, where Stephanie stood encircled by family. Mark pulled her close and whispered, "I should have seen it sooner." Morning light streamed through the kitchen windows as Stephanie and Mark sat across from each other, coffee steaming between them.
I want to make a family cookbook. Carolyn's transcriptions are the foundation. I need to do this.
I am 100% behind you. Whatever you need, we'll do it together.
Later that afternoon, they drove to Carolyn's modest home, a basket of fresh bread warm in Stephanie's lap.
I knew you'd come. I still have the binder with your mother's letter tucked inside.
Carolyn handed over the heavy binder, its pages worn from years of use, and pressed a small, sealed envelope into Stephanie's palm.
It's her handwriting. I'd recognize the way she loops her eyes anywhere.
Stephanie carefully unfolded the letter, her mother's voice rising from the page. "Dearest Carolyn, if you ever meet my daughter, tell her these recipes were always meant to find her. Love, Margaret." In her mother's words, written years before, Stephanie found the certainty she'd been chasing. The cookbook would happen. A week later, the doorbell rang. On the porch stood Pamela, a small ribbon-wrapped box clutched in both hands.
I was carried away during the reunion. I want to replace what I thoughtlessly discarded.
Mark appeared behind Stephanie, arms crossed, his expression a wall of granite.
You can't replace her mother's handwriting with a gift box.
Thank you for the gesture, Pamela. We appreciate you coming by.
Stephanie accepted the box without warmth and did not step aside from the threshold. The door closed with a soft click. Pamela's silhouette lingered a moment, then retreated. Inside, they untied the ribbon. A new tin box, shiny and empty, sat on the hall table.
An apology, but not an admission. A box, but not a recipe. She still doesn't understand.
Mark took the tin and placed it on the shelf in the kitchen. The silence between them held more words than any conversation. Weeks later, at her sunlit kitchen table, Stephanie sorted through the binder, typing the recipes into a layout on her laptop. Behind a divider, her fingers brushed a sealed envelope, yellowed at the edges, with her name written in looping cursive. She opened it carefully, the paper fragile. It was a letter from her mother, dated 6 years ago. "My darling Stephanie, if you are reading this, the cards may be gone. I've known Pamela's heart, and I feared this day. I taught Carolyn everything, so that my food would find you no matter what. Cook these dishes, and I am there. Love, Mom." Stephanie pressed the letter to her chest, a sob breaking free. Her mother had planned the safety net long before she needed it. She reached for her phone and dialed Carolyn's number, her hands still trembling.
Carolyn, I found her letter. She knew. She prepared you for this.
Carolyn's voice crackled through the speaker, warm and steady. She loved you more than her own breath, Stephanie. Never doubt that. The cookbook was no longer a project. It was a promise, written in ink that time couldn't fade. On a quiet Saturday evening, candlelight flickered along the table. As Stephanie arranged fresh flowers, Carolyn arrived carrying a warm rosemary bread, and Mark pulled her into a gentle hug. The small group, 3 of them plus 2 close friends, passed dishes that held decades of love.
Before dessert, I want to say something. This meal is proof that love cannot be thrown away.
She unfolded her mother's letter, the paper soft from handling, and read the words aloud for the first time.
I taught Carolyn everything, so that my food would find you no matter what.
The room fell silent. Carolyn's eyes glistened, and Mark reached for Stephanie's hand under the table.
Your mother would be so proud of this night, Stephanie.
To Margaret, and to you, Carolyn, the keeper of her legacy.
In that candlelit room, the recipes became laughter, tears, and the taste of a mother's stubborn love. The cookbook arrived from the printer, its cover bearing the title, Stephanie's Family Kitchen, in warm, embossed letters at the rented hall. She and Mark set up copies alongside framed photos of her mother, the room filling with floral arrangements. Carolyn was led to the head table, a bouquet of rosemary and lavender before her place card that read Legacy Preserver.
My darling Stephanie, she read again, her voice stronger now. If you are reading this, the cards may be gone. I've known Pamela's heart, and I feared this day. I taught Carolyn everything, so that my food would find you no matter what. And then she announced, every cent from this cookbook will fund a culinary scholarship in my mother's name.
Applause rippled through the room. Mark stood near the side, his eyes glistening, but his gaze drifted once to the empty chair where his mother would have sat. Carolyn wiped a tear and raised her glass. Aunt Lydia, seated nearby, nodded slowly, as if finally understanding the full weight of the story. Later, guests lined up to buy signed copies, the ink of Margaret's Kitchen stamped inside each cover. The celebration felt full, yet a single missing place, setting at the table, kept the triumph from being complete. As the last guest left, Stephanie pressed her mother's letter into the cookbook and whispered, "It's done." But the ache for what still could be stayed with her. The door of the rented hall creaked open again, and a figure in a pale blue coat stood silhouetted against the evening light. It was Pamela. In her hands, a small gift bag with tissue paper peeking over the edge. She hesitated on the threshold.
May I come in? I know I wasn't invited.
Mark, who had been stacking chairs, set one down with a muffled thud. Carolyn paused mid-sentence, her tea cooling in her hand.
After everything, she shows up here. What could she possibly want?
An older relative leaned close to her companion, a whisper hissing through the quiet. She has nerve coming here. Pamela stepped forward, her heels echoing in the near-empty room. She extended the gift bag toward Stephanie with a trembling hand.
I hoped the box I gave before could hold your new cookbook. I was wrong, Stephanie. So deeply wrong.
An apology. But is it for me or for the audience?
Every pair of eyes in the room fixed on Stephanie, waiting. Stephanie pulled the tin box from the bag, the same new one she had received before.
I'll put my mother's cookbook in it. For my daughter someday, so she knows her grandmother.
She set the box on the empty chair beside her, then walked back to the podium, her shoulders straight.
This is all I can give her. A corner of the room, but not a seat at the table.
Pamela stood still as a statue, the crowd shuffling back into conversation. A relative handed Stephanie a glass of water. She drank, gaze steady on the empty space before her.
Let's continue. There are still so many recipes to share tonight.
The celebration resumed, dishes and laughter filling the hall, leaving Pamela alone near the door, the box untouched. Mark squeezed Stephanie's hand under the table, a small gesture that said more than any words. Pamela looked at the box for a long moment, Then, with a small nod, she slipped back out into the evening. The car hummed through the quiet streets, streetlights sliding across the dashboard like slow strobes.
Part of me will never fully forgive her, Mark, but it doesn't sit on my chest anymore.
You don't have to forgive her. You just don't have to carry her.
She looked at the cookbook on her lap, its cover picking up the faint glow from the dash.
Someday, our daughter will open this and smell the pages. She'll know her grandmother through flour and nutmeg.
She'll know her mother too. The one who fought to keep those recipes alive.
At a red light, Mark reached over and laced his fingers through hers.
This book is more than recipes. It's proof that cruelty doesn't get the last word.
The light turned green. The car moved forward, and the night opened ahead of them. The cookbook rested between them, no longer a memorial but a promise. Months later, morning sun poured into the kitchen, pooling on the open cookbook and the small hands that reached for it. A little girl, no older than 6, balanced on a step stool, her fingers tracing the photograph of a smiling woman beside the recipes.
Careful, sweetheart. That's a very special picture.
The girl looked up, flour dusting her cheek, and pointed at the photo.
Who is she? She was my mother. And her kitchen was the safest place I ever knew.
A soft laugh escaped the child, and she dipped her small spoon back into the batter.
Now we add the vanilla. Just like she taught me.
The scent of vanilla curled through the air. The same scent that had lived in her mother's kitchen decades before. 2 generations, linked by a single drop of vanilla, and a book that had outlived a box. The kitchen had settled into its afternoon stillness, the mixing bowl drying on the rack, the step stool pushed to the corner. On the shelf, Pamela's new tin box stood open, now holding the cookbook, no longer empty, but filled with a purpose Stephanie had chosen. Beside it, the framed photograph of her mother caught the last slant of golden hour light. The sun poured in through the window, gilding the cover of Stephanie's family kitchen in amber. The handwriting in the book was Carolyn's transcription, but the voice that lingered was Margaret's. Some recipes outlive the people who wrote them, but only because someone refused to let them fade, because a daughter remembered, because a friend kept them, because a mother planned for a day she hoped would never come. The light shifted, and the dust motes danced in the air above the tin box. And in that quiet kitchen, legacy was not a word. It was a scent, a photo, a book that would be opened by the next small hands. The image held, and then gently, softly, the kitchen faded into the glow of memory.